Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the continuity of that orientation, ji, clear that orientation of what literature, I'm orienting myself, ji, that what is literature. At first we talked about it previously, that what is the area, okay, I'm supposed to cover, ji. Then we talked about what, ji, next thing in that, why do we study it, clear? And yesterday we were talking about what, ji, that how to, clear? In that how, we talked about what, ji, that basically we go for what, ji, study of different what ages. And you can also call it that in literature, you can call it an input. That input for you people, for your brain, for your human machine, due to which man is given priority over other creatures. Man is called Ashraful Makhlukat. That machine is given what, ji? With what certain data. That data comes from where, ji? The different ages, different communities, different societies, different socio-ethnic, cultural, lingual groups of people. Their actions, reactions, behaviors, clear? And in that we talked about basically what, ji? Two things, ji. Content and form. And yesterday we talked in detail about what, ji? Content, ji. In content, ji, we raised three questions, ji. That always whenever you are studying, for example, some poem, some novel, drama, some article, even in modern world, some talk show, clear? Even conversation, gossip, linguistics, we'll go for linguistics, that how can you actually study some society through the gossip going around, clear? In restaurants, clear? In cafes, in a bus, clear? Public transport, clear? That is also a source of, make it clear that I'm talking about the clarification of conception, that some people think that only poetry, drama is literature. No. Even whatever gossip is going on among ladies, clear, at some marriage ceremony, that is also a part of literature. That can be, if somebody is writing it somewhere, that becomes what, ji? A work then. Then we call it what? A piece of literature. Clear? And if, do you think that, do we always have everything in written form on the face of earth? No. There are many things still not in written. Got my point? So whatever is there, but it is not there in written form, so will we not call it literature? Can we say that that is not literature? That is literature. Gossip is literature. Am I clear? Discussion is, chit-chat is literature. Clear? That also deals with something. A minimum source, yesterday we said, what, it could be their humor, entertainment. Clear? It also shows you the picture of certain age, picture of certain society, picture of face of, clear, mankind. That what is there, that the topic of discussion, how are people getting entertained? That also depends or not. For example, that decent people go for what, ji? Decent entertainment. Am I clear? And sometimes don't you think that certain indecent things are also there, and people call them what, ji? That is what? Entertainment. I'm not saying that which one is right, which one is wrong, but I'm talking about different types, na? Am I clear, ji? So that entertainment they are getting through what? Gossip. And in my study of literature, I'm not actually including it. Don't you think that I'm missing a huge phase of human life? By missing that phase of human life, can I say that I'm covering all the literature? Or I know about all the literature? No. Clear? Or what's the purpose of using then linguistics then? Are you getting my point, ji? So in that, ji, we talked about what? What is the content? Why is that person? Remember that why. Next, we'll also discuss why in detail once again. That is very important, as we discussed in detail yesterday. And third one is what, ji? How? And how is also very important. Clear? How is that idea, clear, being portrayed? Is it organized? How? Make it clear that. If you talk about form, in form, clear, in simple words, form is how now. How is that person portraying it? And how is also coming here. Then what's the difference between this form of how? How of form and how of content. Clear? How here means that is it organized or dispersed? Don't you think that writer himself sometimes is confused? He is unable to decide. Or sometimes he thinks that he is clear, but he is not clear. So don't you think that that confusion can also be seen, as I discussed with you, the books that certain authors, clear, they wrote the books, but they themselves were confused. Clear? That also needs certain authority, no? Getting a point? For example, history or the commentary on history, for example. How can you be sure about one person? Don't you think that the person is always there with certain biasness? Every historian is there with certain biasness. It could be their religious biasness, it could be their lingual biasness, it could be their cultural biasness, it could be their national biasness. So the tilt of that biased attitude can be seen there in historic works. So that's why it is said that the works of history related to what? History are always there disputed, are always there with certain clashes. Clear? So how here means that the idea, whatever content means what? Idea. That how is that idea with maximum clarity with writer himself? Clarity with writer himself. That he himself is clear or not. And secondly, is he able to convey that clarity to reader? Suppose you are clear, you are very much clear about certain idea and you are unable to convey that idea clearly to your reader. Don't you think that it will mislead them? And what I learned from my teacher, that was the reason Plato went against it. Clear? Another clarification, that people think that Plato was known against poets or against, no, not at all. Not at all. Plato banned them in Utopia, or Plato was against them because of this confusion. That Plato was with a fear that the writers would cause confusion. And it happens. Sometimes the idea in the mind of writer is something else. And the interpreter or the teacher or the reader himself gets some other idea, reverse of that. A writer means to say something else and the reader infers opposite meanings. Am I clear, ji? So Plato was, I must say that, very much careful in that. So that's why he said that poetry should not be there. Imagination should not be there. Because your imagination must be right. But are you able to convey your imagination to your reader, or are you able to give words to your imagination? Don't you think that it's a bit difficult task? It's not possible for everybody. Clear? That literature is what? You are giving shape to some idea, to some thought. Clear? You are cladding something with words. Clear? Some idea is getting dressed up with words. And don't you think that it's a very sensitive matter? The choice of words, selection of words. Am I clear? Are you getting a point? So it can lead to what? Misunderstandings. For instance, holy books. Don't you think that same book, same verse is there, but different connotations are there, different interpretations are there. In your religion, different sects are based upon those different interpretations of that. One sect says that this means this thing. Another sect is there with his own opinion. In your religion, different sects are there based upon different interpretations of the same verse of Holy Quran. Are you getting a point? So it means that how here is very important. That how is that idea clear being portrayed? Is it well organized? Clear? Is it with maximum clarity? And is it presented or conveyed well? Am I clear, ji? If you are writing, ji, are you clear at first yourself? Are you organized? That's why deviation is not considered favorable in literature, no? In any form. Digression, deviation, in plot, we'll study that. In plot, deviation is not considered good. It's not appreciated. Got it, ji? Clear? Is it well organized? Is there coherence? Is there cohesion in that? In the presentation of that idea? Then, is it conveyed well? Am I clear, ji? And finally, ji, as I said, now why would be there with repetition and with different angles? Finally, ji, is it there a success regarding its impact upon the reader? For example, we are planning to write something to give a rise to what, ji? Revolutionary spirit. Optimism. And instead, resultantly, I am getting what, ji? Pessimism. I may repeat. Sometime when we are trying to develop what? Optimism. Unknowingly, clear, due to certain reasons, instead of optimism, that leads to what, ji? Pessimism. For example, motivational speakers without practical approach. Clear? Why do we all love ji? Bacon ji? Practicality. He gave practical wisdom. That a motivational speaker is motivating every child that you can also do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Ignoring the fact that whether that child is there with proper base of studies or not, environment or not, cult or not. Simple example. If in a classroom I am saying that you all can become doctors, don't you think that at first to qualify that examination you need certain preparation? Are they all prepared equally? Are they all there with solid educational background? Then after that, are they all there with solid environment? Is it possible for everybody? No. Resultantly, what would happen? I gave you what? Optimism. That you all can become. I gave you what? Optimism. Clear? Ignoring certain realistic facts. Ignoring your family social context. Clear? Your economic context. Clear? Your educational context. Clear? Many other things, ignoring that. Resultantly, clear? Some of you, clear, fail to become a what? Doctor. Don't you think that you would become what? Pessimist. You would be disappointed. You would be there with dismayed attitude, dejected attitude. Got my point? So, am I clear, that sometime we try to create some other impact, Clear? I'm not saying that it is always deliberately wrong impact. No. Sometimes unknowingly, we get the reverse of that, Clear? The child is not there with that caliber, and I'm trying to, caliber here means not that his inner potential. Clear? That I'm categorically clarifying it. That caliber, I mean that base, schooling, preschooling, schooling, education. That time he was not given good education, and later on I'm trying to make him what? clear, that's some mumbo jumbo type or whatever, doctor or G, and later on, and he fails to achieve it. So he would become what, G? A pessimist now. So what impact, G, clear, is being created there? This comes from what, G? Content, G, clear? And in that content, G, I'm specifically talking about how, clear? And that how I'm bringing it here, G. That this how needs a harmony. It needs what? Harmony. With this how, a form. How is that now being portrayed? Adopting what form? Clear? You'll get the clarification of this harmony. What do I mean by this harmony between these two how? How of content and how of form. Clear? How of content we discussed it. Now come to this how of form. In that, basically two are there. One is called what? Poetic. And the other one is called what? Prosaic. Basically, these two kinds, genres, types, whatever you call it, are there. In coming sessions, we'll go for the details of all. At the moment, I'm doing what? I'm orienting myself. That what am I going to study? Clear? And how should I study it? What are the things, clear, must be kept in mind before entering into the universe of what? Literature. Because otherwise it can mislead you. Otherwise, clear, misinterpretations could be there. Otherwise, instead of giving inner growth, it can damage. And usually it happens. Clear? That the real, once again, the impact is not there. Or you will not be able to really enjoy it. Enjoy the colors of this universe. Clear? This colorful panorama. And poetry and prose, the difference, that basically, wherever there is generally rhythm, I'll not go for the details, main things, orienting myself on, that poetry is what, rhythmic. Rhythm is compulsory. Whatever is not rhythmic, that can't be called a poetry. So according to this definition, don't you think that words are not just confined to rhythm? Body language is also what? A rhythmic. You call it what? Dance, na? When you bring your body into rhythm, that is called what? Dance. Even then, what's the difference between this ambling, walking? Why are we in need of these different words of vocabulary? Got it, Clear that you must have seen certain people when they walk, it seems as if the earth is carrying them. On the other hand, the ignorant people like me, when they walk, it seems as if I'm a burden over earth. Got it, Clear? That you love to see certain people walking, na? That style, na? That is what rhythmic. Am I clear, Dressing, clear? Color combination, color science. As I said, na, that everything comes within literature, When you actually go for rhythmic combination of different colors, you call it what? A good design. Clear? We use certain words. Symmetry is there, Proper pattern is there, Construction. Why do you follow this architecture, Simply you just need a room now. You can lay it anywhere. Got my point? Whenever you actually develop, make certain building and you give it a proper shape, clear, in a proper rhythmic way, that is called what? A good building. Am I clear? Everything. Food. Clear? Why do you always talk about ingredients or something? That is also what? Rhythm, na? You are adding some, clear? Even if you go for the excess of something, salt for example, what is that? You are disturbing the rhythm of that, na? Clear? That make it very clear. That is, this is a misconception that rhythm is only there needed in words. No. For your kind information, then in music, at first they develop symphony. Clear? They develop musical notes, then they write poetry on that. At first, they develop what? Musical notes. Then they write poetry according to those rhythmic patterns. Then a poet is asked to write on this pattern. Am I clear, ji? So enlarge this concept, ji. Clear? On the behalf of my teachers, ji, I dare say that rhythm is not just, ji, in words. It is there in human nature. It is there in human dressing. It is there in human surroundings. For example, you disturb one rhythmic pattern of universe. What was that? Plantation. And look at that, whatever you are facing. The biggest challenge of 21st century. Still modern man is not ready to perceive it, or unable to perceive it, or not bothering it, ignoring this fact. And it is causing what? Global warming. It is causing what? Climate change. You disturb what? One element of nature, or one element of universe around you. What was that element? Plants. Clear? You disturbed that rhythm. Am I clear? Got it, ji? That 2 feet, 2 eyes, human shape, change this rhythm now. You will be facing what? Deformity. Am I clear? So whatever is there in certain form, ji, in a certain form, in a certain shape, in a certain rhythmic pattern. Clear? And here, rhythm specifically, at first I'm talked about generally. Now come to the specific boundary of rhythm in poetry. Clear? That is what chi music. You can, in other words, you can also call it what it should be musical. And what is that musical, ji? Clear? With proper rise and fall. Rise and fall. And prose, ji, rhythm is not the condition. Rhythm is not the condition. Rhythm can be there, make it clear. And rhythmic prose is also called what, ji? Poetic prose. And in modern world, modern poetry, even sometimes rhythm is not there in poetry. Then we call it what? Which sort of poetry, ji? Prosaic poetry. Got it? Secondly, ji, line length. Poetry needs certain line length, ji. According to standard, I'm talking about standard, classics. Clear? In modern poetry and modern literature, it could be anything, ji. मैं पहाड़ पे चढ़ा दूसरी तरफ से उतर गया, नज़म पूरी होगी. पहाड़ is a metaphor of what, ji? Difficulties of life. दूसरी तरफ उतर गया means I succeeded in overcoming those difficulties. It's a complete poem with complete theme. Modern poem. Got, ji? Kangan in modern poetry, ji, is of their half hand. हाथ का कंगन होता. I'm an ignorant sort of person. Kangan is there not for the hand. Kangan is there for the wrist. कलाई का कंगन होता है, हाथ का कंगन नहीं होता. But accept it. Whatever is there, accept it. Got it, ji? But it needs what? Line length. And how do we measure length of a poetic line, ji? Through what, ji? Number of syllables, ji. Syllables mean hija. For example, chemistry. How many syllables are there? 3. Clear? And in English, ji, that 2 syllables are equal to what? 1 poetic foot. 1 poetic foot, ji. That is called what, ji? Line length, ji. That iambic pentameter, when you say. We'll go for the details of that, ji, when we'll talk about blank verse. That 5 syllables must be there, means 10 feet. 5 feet must be there, 10 syllables. That was what, ji? The demand of classics, ji. Blank verse. That if not every, majority, I'm not saying every, majority of the lines must be, ji, containing what, ji? 5 feet, 10 syllables. That was blank verse, ji. Here, ji, once again, in prose, ji, there is no condition of restriction of what? Line length. In prosaic line, a line could be there with 20 feet, with 30 feet, whatever. Am I clear up till here, Ji? That poetic line is measured through what? Number of syllables. And majority of the lines must be, I'm emphatically repeating, majority of the lines in a stanza. Clear? If it is in stanza form. Clear? Or whatever. Clear? Majority of the lines must be there in a certain same pattern. For example, first stanza is there of 10 syllables. So majority of the lines must be there with 10 syllables. And second stanza I am using what is 6 syllable. Clear? 3 feet. Am I clear, Ji? Tetra line. So majority of the lines must be there what, Ji, with 6 syllables. 3 feet. That was what, Ji? Line length. Then, Ji, as I said now, Ji, poetry is divided into its sense. This is very important, Ji. Very important to clear. That division of sense in poetry is stanza. In simple words, that one sense is conveyed, or one thing, one point is covered or measured in what usually what Ji, one stanza. Generally, I'm repeatedly saying generally, I'm not saying that these are not Quranic words. That generally in poetry, one sense is divided into what? One stanza. The division of sense is there in form of what, Ji? In stanzas. If you want to change your point, if you want to shift from one point to another point, you shift from one stanza to another stanza. Is it clear? Whatever form is there, couplet is there, tercet is there, quatrain, we'll go for details, Ji. That is called what, Ji? Stanza. And in prose, Ji, that is divided into what, Ji? Paragraph. We call it what? Paragraph. In poetry, stanza is number of lines bound, and in prose, paragraph is not line bound. It could be there with 3 lines, it could be there with 30 lines. But in poetry, usually the standard pattern remains the same, or majority. For example, it could be there first stanza, 4 lines, next couplet, then 4 lines, then couplet. But there must be certain pattern. Even rhythm must be there in pattern of that. Certain pattern must be followed. And here there is no restriction of pattern. Last but not the least, I'm talking about major differences. There could be hundreds, there could be thousands. I always, whenever I'm talking about something, Ji, here always remember, Vishay, that different perceptions could be there. Clear? I'm not going for a debate that. My point of view could be this, what I learned from my teacher. Somebody else could be there with his own. Everybody reserves a right to have certain perception. Clear? Because these are not holy things, or not divine revelations. Clear? Somebody else could be there with his own perception. I'm talking about mine. I reserve the right. Then meter. In line length, we deal with what? Number of lines. Number of syllables. In meter, we deal with what? Pattern of syllables. In line length, we measure how many syllables are there. And in meter, we deal with what? Pattern of that. That what pattern is being, what is now this pattern? In music, as I told you that, sa, re, ga, ma, all those different notes are there. As usually we say that sat, sur. Got it? Usually a term is used there. But in English language, or generally in majority of the languages, I'm saying English and majority in wording. It is divided into two main patterns. Ji. One is called unstressed, another one, it is denoted by these two symbols. Ji. This one shows what? Unstressed, and this one is what? Stressed. Now what does it mean, ji? If I refer to what, ji? Classics, ji. For example, they demanded what? Iambic. What was that iambic, ji? That 10 syllables must be the iambic pentameter. They demanded what? A poetic line must be following which meter? Iambic pentameter. That is called blank verse. That line must be having how many syllables? 10. And what must be their pattern? Iambic. Now what is this? This is iambic. Ji. This is what? We'll go for the detail of that. What are the other different patterns? Ji? This is what? Iambic. Unstressed and stressed. Ji. So now what is iambic pentameter? Look at this now. Unstressed test, unstressed test, unstressed test, unstressed test, unstressed test. How many feet are there, ji? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 feet means 10 syllables. So this is called what? Penta. Penta means 5. 5 feet. 5 feet. And what is the pattern of that, ji? Iambic. So we can say that this is what, ji? Iambic pentameter. Now, why are we talking about it? Always remember that we are not concerned here with what, ji? Crammed material, ji. Clear? Or just see that getting fixed to certain. As I said, that literature is open. Always remember, literature can never be bound. It is always natural according to the need of every. Though the certain standards always remain the same. Because standard is standard. Standards don't change. Standards remain the same throughout ages. But other variations could be there. Now why do we need it, ji? Ji bache, what do you think that? Why are we going for this, ji? Number one, basically what? A rhythm. Clear? To create what? Rhythm. Rise and fall. But it never means that I am always bound. For example, you saying that I am, and you got a grasp over language. A firm grip over what? Language. Diction of any language. Wording. And you are saying, ji, I'll go for a poem where I'll develop what, ji? This sort of pattern. Clear? Unstressed, 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 stressed, 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 unstressed, 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 stressed, stressed, stressed. Don't you think that this is becoming what? Musical. She is saying, ji, I'll develop my what, ji? My own. Make it clear that. That, unfortunately, a misconception that, ji, that we are not given with that clarity. In Urdu, these are called awzan o tarakib. Someday we'll discuss that. We call them what? Awzan, wazan, from wazan. That what is that poem in wazan, ji, proper wazan? Is there proper tarkeeb of that, ji? Got my point? Clear? So, for example, she is saying that she will go for what, ji? That stress, 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 unstressed, stress, 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 unstressed. She needs loud rhythm. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting the point?
Yes, sir.
That a person can develop, but it must be following certain pattern. If not all the time, I'm saying what? Majority. If 10 lines are there, out of 10, at least 7, 8 lines must be following this pattern. Sometime it can exceed from 10 syllables to 11. Sometime it could be there 9. Sometime it could be there 8. Am I clear, ji? We'll talk about different masterpieces of literature, ji, who followed these patterns. Got it? Clear? Now, what is this now unstressed and stressed in language? Specifically in English. Specifically, English, generally we can say. In English, simply make it clear, ji, that whatever syllable is based upon, or the pivotal part of that syllable is if it is a vowel sound. Clear? That's very, on one hand complex, but on the other hand very simple, ji. That what is a basic constituent of every word in language? Basically consonant sound. Which sound makes what chi? Your word consonant sound, na? Vowel sounds are there just to give shape to that word. In linguistics, we'll study that. You must be dealing with that. We'll see that, how much you have learned. Phonetics, phonology. That usually the main word of every, for example, I mentioned that chemistry. Which letters are giving you the real sound in simple words? Consonants. Am I clear? Vowels are just like zabar, zer and pesh. Oo, ah, ee. Got my point? When you are actually moulding the sound, vowels are needed there. But the basic constituents are there mostly. What mostly I am saying, not all the time. Mostly are there what consonant sounds. Clear? But if while pronouncing some word, the main stress is on what vowel sound, that is called what unstressed syllable. Or in other words, it is also called soft syllable. Am I clear, ji? And if the basic constituent ji or the main stress is upon there, you must have studied that stress ji in FSC ji. Or in coming lectures ji in linguistics, I'll explain that to you ji. At the moment, like keep it till here ji. When the stress is upon that consonant ji in that word, that is called what ji? Which syllable? Stressed. Or you can also call it, in other word, that bit loud syllable. Unstressed was what ji? Soft syllable. And stress is what ji? Loud syllable. Or unstressed, you can say that lower note. Stress is what ji? Higher note. For example, ji, when I'm saying glow, or when I'm saying ji, burst, look at this ji, burst, is it a soft or loud? Burst, loud. Na? Am I clear? Because of the consonants there. Na? And when I'm saying deep, now it is what chi? Soft. Because of what chi? Stress is there upon what chi? Vowel sound. Am I clear? Got it? We'll explain further when we'll deal with what chi? Pieces of poetry chi? Practically. At the moment, I'm just orienting myself chi? That in simple words, chi, rise and fall. Rise and fall. Lower note and higher note. In other words, you can call it what chi? Lower note and higher note. And you can check it even on your mobile ji. Download a piano. Clear? Start from the buttons. Certain buttons will be what chi? Lower note. Clear? And certain button would be there ji. When you press it, it gives you a louder sound. Clear? That is called what? Louder note. And soft voice is called what chi? Soft note. Or lower note. Lower note or higher note. Unstressed is what chi? Lower note. Stress is what chi? Higher note. Rise and fall. Clear ji? There is no restriction of meter ji in prose. Am I clear ji? So, in other words, can we say that this expression is there with certain pattern, with certain limitations, with certain beauty, and this is what she left with open-ended? Got my point? That's why throughout the ages, unanimously, poetic expression is considered to be the strongest expression on the face of earth. Strongest form. The best example is what the Holy Quran, the Holy Bible, Ved, other religious books. Got my point? Look at the beauty of that verse. Noon. Val kalame vama yasturun. Look at the verse. First line is just one letter, and second line is what? A whole sentence. But the rhythm is maintained. Rhythm is not broken. Your Surah Rahman. Got my point? I call it, I learned it on the behalf, I learned from it. The most charming moments in Holy Quran are there in perfectly rhythmic pattern. Specifically your last surah. Have you seen it? It seems that when there is a flow of blessings, that is there what? In rhythmic pattern. Surah Rahman. Got it? All the blessings are there. No? Got it? So poetry is, that's why I considered what? More influential, more effective, powerful form of expression. And so in other words, you can also add here, whatever content is there, the way now, how you express it. For example, your idea, that's why I mentioned, now come back to this, I mentioned what? Harmony. That your idea is superb. Am I clear? Your thoughts are beautiful. And don't you think that usually whatever idea we come across when somebody is discussing, you already know about that idea now. But we always think that, why can't we express like him? What makes the difference? For example, poverty throughout the ages, tragedy throughout the ages, human misery throughout the ages, had been discussed. Clear? Don't you know about the problem of modern man? You know now, everybody knows now. So why is it so that when you come across certain post on Facebook, that stirs you? Clear? That stimulates certain something within you. Clear? What is there behind that? You already know about that thing. Clear? What makes the difference? Clear? Between your expression and that expression, that form. How is that being presented? That's why they people are considered to be society maker. They are also called what? Mind makers. They are also called what? Influencers. Not like the modern world. Now influencers are what? She is smiling. TikTokers. No, they are. I appreciate them. Everybody. But I'm not negating their importance. But I can't dance now. That dance gets what? Billions of views or something. Got it? But they are all content creators. No? They are there with their own content. It depends upon the viewer. No? If the viewer demands it, that is what. Why are you smiling? I'm not ironically. I'm truly from the core of my heart, I accept. But never expect that from me. Now don't try to force me to. Because you were saying on that day, you were talking about song or something. I'm not that content developer. I'm an ignorant sort of person. I try to convey whatever I got from my teachers. Am I clear? Now when there is a harmony, now look at this. When your content is strong, clear, and your form is strong, then imagine about the impact. That's why societies are shaped. So conclusively, dare I say, that modern world is lacking literature, or that influential literature, or if not lacking, fail to develop attraction for it, or fail to portray it, or fail to make it the need of time. Don't you think that everybody thinks that science can change? Science can change modern world. That's why somebody wrote somewhere, it was there in somewhere syllabus of BA English, I think, if I could recall, in Punjab University, that modern man, I think it was by Bernard Shaw or somebody. I think Bernard, if I'm not wrong, clear, that he wrote that why is it so that modern man is not proud of modern man? He is proud of his inventions. That we are just proud of talking about what are inventions, machines. Can we say that the man of 21st century is better than the man of 20th century? Can we say that we could alleviate poverty from the face of earth? We could vanish misery from the face of earth? Don't you think that with every coming day, we always say that every coming moment is getting more difficult from the previous one? It means now we failed to. It means that the people in the previous ages were there with stronger impact of their literature on what? Society. And if in the answer, if you are saying that nobody takes interest in that, so who will develop the interest now? It's up to us now. We failed to develop that. Clear? Whenever needed interest is not developed, it will create a vacuum. Very important line I'm repeating. Whenever important or needed interest is not developed, it creates what? A vacuum. And that vacuum is filled by what? Whatever she was referring to. TikTok. We fail to develop that interest now, and somebody else filled that gap. So why are you smiling at them? I appreciate them. I call them guru. I call them gurus. They won. They filled that gap now. Am I clear, ji? Is it clear up till here? And final thing in that, ji, in orientation, though we discussed it in why, but separately, I'm deliberately mentioning it separately, that for what? We took a start from what? What? What is literature? Got it? Then why? Though we discussed it already in why. Though we already discussed it in the content, in the why of content. But deliberately I'm mentioning it separately, with a purpose. As I said, that we study ages and how. That was what? Input. It deals with what? Output. What is the output of that? This is called, respected man, evolution. Clear? To develop mankind. Even if you study deeply all the religious charters chronologically, Old Testament, the difference between Old Testament and New Testament, clear? 1,000 years ago, clear? Then 1400 years ago, you'll find clear certain evolution in that. The things which were not forbidden there previously, then there came a moment those things got what? Forbidden. Because man got evolved. Man evolved here means what? Not that Darwin's evolution. Man evolved what? Mentally. Knowledge-wise. Conscience of man. Awareness. Wisdom. It evolved throughout the ages. And literature played the pivotal role in that evolution. That's why I say, that masterpiece of literature, the holy books, a revolution, the words of saints. That's why I love what Saint Sachal Sarmast, Bulle Shah, Muhammad Baksh, Iqbal, Shakespeare, Russell, Bernard Shaw, Bacon, Aristotle, Rumi, Razi, Ghazali, Masnavi. Got it, ji? All were not revelations. All are not divine things. Clear? But they are always there with universality. That's why we say that Chaucer, the prologue is what, ji? With universality. Clear? That's why they achieved universality. That the man of every age, belonging to every religion, Sheikh Sadi, sorry, may God forgive me, I forgot his name, my favorite, the most, Dabistan, Bustan, Gulistan, Sheikh Sadi, universally read, universally accepted, universally loved. I'm emphatically repeating, universally loved. And what should I call it that? In few words, clear, he encompassed what? Complete chartered of life. In few words, through those small parables, short stories, Hikayat-e-Sadi. You must read that. Now available in all translated versions. Basically those are there in Persian, but in Urdu, English, parables of Sadi. Got it, ji? They developed what, ji? Human mind. They developed what, ji? Mankind, ji. Am I clear, ji? In two aspects, ji. In ideas, thoughts, developing ideas, or in another word, ji, removing conflicts. To develop idea is one thing, ji. To give certain idea, then to transform certain idea, then to implement certain idea, give practical shape to certain idea, that is one thing. Another side is, what, ji, to remove certain conflict, ji, to remove certain, throughout ages, ji, they had been removing confusions, conflicts. It could be individual conflicts. It could be their social conflicts, religious conflicts, political conflicts. They had been playing their part to remove these conflicts. On one hand, developing ideas, on the other hand, removing conflicts. Both aspects of that. Got it? And secondly, they had been playing their role in what? Developing what? Expression. That's why it is said that always a certain mark, a certain stamp can be seen over the work of every writer on the face of earth, though even if they are considered to be intellects. Intellects are always there with certain stamp. I would love to die with the words listening if somebody pronounced that I had the stamp over me of my teacher. Got my point? Clear? I would love to. I would love to have that stamp. So influence, stamp here means influence is there throughout the ages. Clear? The writers of one age, the influence of mind of what? Upcoming age. And that what he develops what? That is developed through what? Expression. For example, that she is there with certain rich ideas in her mind and with superb type of expression. How would I learn from her if I'm not finding something in written form? Or for example, somebody was there in previous century, before my birth, and he was there with rich ideas. Clear? He was there with superb type of things. Clear? And I'm not finding anything in written form. Clear? How could I learn something out of it? And or in other words, if I am there with certain improved expression, suppose, though which I am not, if I am there with certain improved expression, don't you think that it is because of my teachers, or it is because of, that's why it is said, reading is important. Why does everybody call about what? Reading. Why is it said that good reading, now in modern world, good listening. Now technology is there. Why is it said that good reading and good listening gives way to what? Good ideas and then consequently good expression. Whatever you listen, or the quality of your listening, the quality of your reading depends upon the quality of your expression. So if the previous expression is there with that quality, don't you think that the next generation would be there with the improved form of that? Is that clear? Got my point? So output can be there, consequently, that what is there with what output. See you tomorrow, inshallah.